Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. Big rumours just come out in the last few minutes from Talk Sport. Gonzo doesn't know what the topic of the title is, but Gonzo, Talk Sport, Jim White is claiming West Ham United have offered Declan Rice £200,000 a week on an 8-year contract. Your reaction, please, sir.
8-year contract. I mean, it's a lot of money. You can understand why David Moyes is trying to take a Thomas Souček, mate. Can you take 20 quid a week here? You can understand why he's saying to PSG, can you pay some of Areola's wages, please? He's doing all of this. He's basically penny pinching so he can give all the money to Declan. How many players have you got in the squad? Not many, but we've got Declan Rice. Wow. I mean, okay, firstly, my initial reaction is, for him to sign it, there would have to be a buyout clause. Clearly, he's not going to dedicate the rest of his career to West Ham unless we're going to go places. There's so much stuff. I didn't expect you to say that, to be fair. I did wonder why you'd messaged me and said, "Oi, you jump on the camera now." If we can get him to sign a contract, we then have to match his ambition. If we're paying someone 200 grand a week, I then expect us to match that with a transfer kitty as well. I'd say a transfer bounty. We need a war chest actually to go out there and buy players. We really do. 200 grand a week. If it is true, I would suggest we can't do any more than that to try and keep Declan Rice. I'm aware that there are clubs out there that can, as we mentioned in a video that we recorded earlier, that PSG can play Mbappe £1 million a week. But I tell you what, for little old West Ham, it ain't bad.
There is a clause in the contract that would see Declan Rice's wage increase over the duration of the contract for inflation as well, so he's not stuck on 200 grand a week in 6 years' time.
Don't you hate it when that happens, when you're stuck on 200 grand a week?
That would be incredible. I don't know if I believe it. I mean, for the start, it's come from Jim White. We also know who Jim White's source is on this, which would then be David Sullivan. So whether you like Jim White or not, and whether you think he's a bit of a puppet for the board, I don't think you can accuse him of being a puppet and then disregard his sources. I don't think you can have both. I think either he has a really good source in David Sullivan, he does both, or you can't have one without the other. So has Jim White been told this? Well, I maybe believe that aspect. But if this was true, hypothetically, why would Declan Rice sign it? Why would Rice commit to an 8-year contract? He's just not going to do it, is he? Why would he do that? And I know you're saying, well, he's got to have a release clause in there, but then why would West Ham do that? Because in 120 million, say, it might be expensive today, but in 3 years' time, it might not be really expensive. So why would we agree to that release clause for 3 years' time? I get it that we are desperate to keep Declan Rice. But I think if you did give him £200,000 a week and he did accept it, I think you've then got a problem when you go and try and sign another player. Because then if you then go after, whether it be Darwin Núñez or a other striker, they're coming to the club knowing that Declan Rice is on £200,000 a week. Their wage demands today might be 100,000, but knowing that Declan's on 200, their wage demands tomorrow might be 150,000 a week. I think it would create all sorts of problems going forward. We've already got an issue with Thomas Souček with his pay because Kurt Zouma's on 125. Well, imagine Declan Rice on 200. What's Souček going to want now? He might not want the same as Declan Rice. I'll tell you what, he won't want that far off it. He'll say, well, I'll have a bit less than Declan because I'm not as important. But it won't be 100,000 of that. It'll be greater than that. I don't think we can afford it, to be honest with you. Does Declan Rice deserve it? Yes, he does. He does deserve to be paid handsomely. He is our best player, world-class talent. But I just think the offer seems a bit madness to me. I think I'd be more comfortable if we offered him a reasonable contract, 4 or 5 years, with making him the highest paid member of the squad, but only just. But then almost giving him a handsome signing on fee to protect that wage structure that you've already got in place. I think this would just blow the wage structure out of the water, Gonzo. I think it would create a lot of problems going forward, actually.
I'm not so sure about that. I was in my mind, we always do the option. So we always give the contract. Then there's an option, so an 8-year contract with a 4-year option. Basically, Declan would be a grandfather if we exercise the option. I don't see that as it. Firstly, I think we can afford it. I think we've had players like Chicharito 140 grand a week. I think we have spent, and we've also had even what's geezer's the name, Perez, when he came in, he was on 70, 80 grand. We've had players on big wages, and actually, I remember doing a video. I can't remember the complete component parts of it. I really remember doing a video a couple of seasons ago of us 400 grand on players that we weren't really using. So I think we've spent more than that unwisely. Andy Carroll be a case in point over the length of his contract. So I think as long as we're more streamlined with it, I think we can afford 200 grand a week. I think that's the first part on that. I think in terms of people coming in and then saying, "Oh, I want 200 grand a week as well," it's sort of jog on. You do still have some power. So if we use Darwin Núñez, let's assume we'll use an example that Darwin Núñez wants to sign for us, or wants to, or would sign for us, and it's us and someone else. Let's go with Leicester City, right? It's us and Leicester City that are in for him, or something like that. And actually, Leicester City are offering him 100 grand a week, and we're offering him 100 grand a week. He can't then turn around to us and say, "Well, I want 200 grand a week because it's you." Because we could just turn around and say, "Well, no, actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. We're in negotiation now. We'll offer you 120 grand a week." He's not going to say, "Oh, I'm not doing that because I'm going to go and sign for 100 grand a week." There is a market level, and I think we have to stick with it because we're not Man City. And I think you can still get players in there. This is all about, for me, and I don't know why Declan would sign it. But this is all for me really a situation where Rice has to. We now have to match the ambition because I think the moment we call him or contact, call him, "Hello, Deck, fancy 200 grand a week," right? The moment we contact his advisors, I'd imagine the initial thing would be shock. It's a lot of money for West Ham. This is a big statement to Declan. It's a big statement to his advisors. It's a big statement to football. We have to match that statement. That's more wages we've ever paid. We now have to have a transfer war chest, which is more money than we've ever had. My goodness, look at Jack.
Yeah, I've seen that. We'll get onto that in a minute. I think the problem, though, is when we're talking in relation to the other players, though, we've just recorded a video. This is why me and Gonzo already sat at our computers. We've just done 2 videos for today on the forum channel and this channel later. So on the forum channel, in an hour or so, you'll have a video about Areola. And we're basically, PSG is basically possibly subsidising Areola's wages going forward. If this was true, I wouldn't be surprised if PSG think, well, actually, we're not going to subsidise those wages anymore. You can afford it. Why are you pretending you can't afford Areola on 100 grand a week or whatever when you're then offering this around? I think my stumbling block here, Gonzo, is actually believing this. But like I said, it has come from Jim White. And if there's somebody that does have good connections with David Sullivan, it is Jim White. But I do wonder if this is another... Do you know, in January, I might have believed the bids were made for Rafinha, but I didn't believe that they were ever going to get accepted, that we put in an offer so low, we knew it would be accepted, so we looked like we wanted Rafinha, but did we really? Because the offer that we made Leeds United would suggest we weren't that serious. And I do wonder if there's an element of that to this with Declan Rice, which is, let's make him an offer which looks fantastic, sounds fantastic, but the reality is Declan Rice probably won't sign it. I'd be shocked if Declan Rice signed this because it's never been about money for Declan. I've never got the impression it was about money. If it was, he'd have signed a new deal ages ago. You know, the wages on today, I can't remember how much it is because he had these like rises in the contract he signed a couple of years ago, whatever, had these rises. Once he made X amount of appearances, he'd get Y amount of thousand a week extra. So I don't know what he's on at the minute. Maybe 60, 70,000 as a guess, maybe something like that. It's quite low, especially for his stature in the squad. I mean, Kurt Zuma's on double what Declan Rice is probably. So if it was about money, he would have signed a new contract months ago for over 100,000 a week and still wanted to leave in the summer. So I've never got the impression it was about money for Declan Rice. I've always felt it was about ambition, personal ambition, which is to win trophies. Giving him this offer, this contract, doesn't mean that he's going to win trophies at West Ham. No, it doesn't. It just means that Declan Rice stays at West Ham next summer. We retain our best player. But what does it mean for Declan? Well, unless there's a release clause in there, it means he's signing up to 8 years at a club. I just don't see this being true whatsoever. Like I said, the offer may be true, but is it a realistic offer? Is it one that they genuinely believe Declan Rice might sign? I'm not convinced, Gonzo. I guess this comes down to lack of trust, if you like, in the board. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Well, it's a funny one for them to leak, Geo. I must say that. I don't know what. This is a powerful contract offer, even if it's done privately. It really is. I don't see the need to make this one public. I don't see the need to phone Jim White and say, "Oh, by the way, we've just done." Now, I'm pretty sure that the leak wouldn't have been, "Oh, by the way, can you say this on your radio show?" But it doesn't have to be, because they know he'll say it on his radio show. Because at the end of the conversation, Jim will say, "Can I quote you on this?" Because that's what journalists work. And yeah, go on. And if you need to tell the nation, do you know what? Who am I to stop you? And I just think it's a funny one to leak out there, really. And
I think that's an excellent point, by the way. The fact it has been leaked, because this is something they've done in the past. They have made their contract offers known to players that won't sign their contracts, to almost, and the way I see it is, it's so that they control the narrative, and almost to try and possibly turn the fan base not necessarily against the player, but make the fan base think, all right, the club have done all they can. If the player's leaving, it's because of the players, got nothing to do with the club. They've made a generous offer. It's not been accepted. Nothing more the club can do. And I think what they're doing is essentially controlling the narrative by leaking this, which is hoping that an element of, or a portion of the fan base would think West Ham have made a very generous offer to Declan Rice. Declan Rice should sign this contract, and there's nothing more West Ham can do. I think that's a very good point, actually, the leaking of this offer.
Well, the thing is, we're not silly as West Ham fans. We're not silly. Well, maybe Tony is, but
I am occasionally.
Yeah, yourself. Yeah, all right. A few of us are silly, but in the main, we're not silly, and we know this. We can see through the smoke and mirrors that this. We know why Declan Rice would want to leave. It's blindingly obvious. You don't actually have to. You don't have to signal what you've done. You don't have to put the messaging out there to say, "Oh, we tried." We all know the club would like to retain Declan Rice. We all accept that we probably can't match his ambition. We probably all accept as fans, well, we definitely accept that we can't pay the wages of Man City or whatever the case may be. They don't actually need to do. If that's the case, it's a bit of messaging for the fans to say, "Oh, we tried." Well, we sort of know. We're sort of resigned to it as a fan base. But I think we also do all sort of hope that he stays next season. We all heard his wonderful words and Mark Noble's beautiful speech, his emotional speech at the West Ham Awards a couple of nights ago. And I think a lot of us were buoyed by what Declan Rice said. Very kept on. It's not, again, Declan Rice isn't silly. None of us are silly here. He's aware of his language when he's saying words like, "We have to do better next season. I want another go again," and all those sort of stuff that he says. He's smart enough to know that if he's not going to stay around, he won't talk about next season. It's easy enough just to change your language slightly.
But there was also something he said that night. He almost got very directly asked about next season. He basically said, don't quote me on this 100%, but roughly what Declan said was, "There's always going to be transfer speculation, but whenever I pull on the shirt, I'll give 100%. He didn't commit to next season. There and then, when he got asked a direct question, he didn't commit to it. He just committed to giving 100% in the West Ham shirt, which I don't have an issue with Declan saying that. I have an issue with him getting asked that question on a night, which is to celebrate the season. I think it's unnecessary. I understand why a journalist for a newspaper would ask that question, but somebody that's employed by West Ham to put on a show for West Ham fans, I found it a bit of a silly question, because there's nothing Declan Rice could say there that he looks good. Either commits to next season, if he leaves, he looks like a traitor, or he says, "Well, actually, I'm not here next season. Goodbye." So he's went down the middle, which is leave the door open a little bit.
It's funny, isn't it? At the time when they should be asking the tough questions, which we've discussed on numerous occasions, they don't get asked after a game where a wrong selection has been made, or maybe there's not a youngster on the bench or something like that. They don't ask tough questions. And you're right, at a night of celebration where it's all pink and fluffy and feel goods, they go, "Let's do the tough one now. Let's I tell you what, there's enough joy in this room. Come on." No,
maybe you should say, "I don't want an 8-year deal, thank you."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mic drop. Yeah, you know what? Look, watch this space. At the end of the day, it just comes down to our ambition. I love the ambition of offering someone 200 grand a week. I like to think, as you know, I'm reserved about this whole Kretinsky thing until I see the colour of his money. Maybe he can pop into the chat. Until I see the colour of his money, I am yet to be convinced that he is the benevolent owner that we hope that he might well be. But there's still a possibility that he is the benevolent owner that we hope he might well be. So I like the intent of 200 grand a week. If that's matched by the intent of saying, and it's whispered into Declan's ear, mate, we're gonna chuck. Never mind 150 or 100 million. Mate, we're gonna try and chuck 200 million quid's worth of players as well. We're gonna really have a go. It might be enough for Declan to say. And I take what you mean about him not being money motivated as well. I think we all know that. That being said, it is also would be nice for him to earn more money and know that he still has a way out. But I think it's good messaging for the club if he can sign a deal. I think it's really important messaging. If you get Declan Rice tied up on 200 grand a week, the messaging that sends out, I'll tell you what you said about negative messaging in terms of when players want to sign, they're saying, I'm having 200 grand a week, but there's a flip side to that. And that is, Declan Rice is just, and everyone will know about him in Europe now and internationally, and in Europe, his stock is very high. Oh, hold on. West Ham have just signed him up for a long time. Maybe, and they've qualified for Europe again. Maybe I will sign for West Ham. It could go all different manner of ways, mate.
Yeah, I like the intent of the offer. If the offer is genuine, I think fair play to the club. They're putting their money where their mouth is with Declan Rice. But make the offer at the end of the summer. Go out and spend your 200 million and then say to Declan Rice, look, just spent 200 million. We're serious about this. Look at the players we bought. Here's a contract for you that makes you the best paid player at the club ever. Long-term deal. Stay with us for another year. Put something in the contract that allows him to get out in a year's time if he has to. So I'm all for the intent and stuff like that. I can't sit here and whinge that they're not doing all they can to get him to sign. I'm not sure the 8-year deal is enough to get him to sign. If they're serious, give him that offer with a 5-year contract or something, then you might see a different answer. My concern with this news is actually what you touched on, which is the leaking of the news. Why did it need to come out? It didn't. There was no need for this to come out at all. I think the club are trying to win a battle where there isn't actually a battle. I think they think that they've got to appeal to the fan base. But like you said, we're all aware of the situation. We're all aware of Declan Rice's ambitions. You don't need to do this. They're trying to put out a fire where there isn't even actually a fire. Strange one. It's a strange one from the club, but we shall wait and see. But there you go. There's the news from TalkSport. Before we sign off, just want to say a last thank you to Jack. Put in a ridiculous £90 for all the great content this season, you two, and helping with a few bits and bobs. No problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks, anyway, Jack. We really appreciate that.
On the forum channel in a little bit. What time, Gonzo?
I'll put it. Well, I'll put it up at 12 at noon.
At 12 on the forum channel, myself and Gonzo discuss the rumours around PSG subsidising Areola's wages if he joins West Ham on a permanent transfer this summer. And then at 5:30 tonight, myself and Gonzo are discussing the reports that the Athletics are set to depart the London Stadium, giving West Ham a free run at the gaff. Anyway, that's been me and Gonzo. If you've enjoyed this video, drop a like on it. Leave us your comments with your thoughts on the rumours around the Declan Rice contract offer. Myself and Gonzo, catch you in a bit.